You're listening to Music Tectonics.
How to
start up.
Welcome back to Music Tectonics, where we go beneath the surface of music and tech. I'm your host, Dmitri. I'm also the founder and CEO of Rock, Paper, Scissors, the PR and marketing firm that specializes in music innovation. And sometimes we bring you things that have to do with what's going on in the world, news about the music industry, or we interview startup founders or different participants in the music industry. But as you know, we also like to bring you kind of like tips and skills and hacks and things that'll actually help you get your work done. So I'm really excited about today's show, which focuses on what some people might call influencer marketing. Our guest is Alexandra Koshi. She's a creative partnerships manager with 6 years of experience in influencer marketing and close to 10 years in the music industry. I like her because she's able to develop trust and rapport between clients and creators. Her specialty is in truly understanding each client's brand and voice, and not only matching them to well-fitting creators, but getting the two to maintain creative integrity and amplify products with authenticity. She's executed influencer marketing campaigns with six-figure budgets, and through her Find Your Friends agency, she partners with me to help Rock, Paper, Scissors clients expand our outreach and placements with very creative and high-impact video creators and influencers. It's so exciting. Welcome to the podcast, Alexandra.
Thank you, Dmitri. Wow, you slaughtered me up there. I love that.
Yes, let's go.
That was a great bio.
I'm thinking about getting a job in PR. So I want to dive in because I think you have so much to offer. It's an area that I'm still learning about, and I love to surround myself with experts like you. So what are we talking about here? Some people call it influencer marketing. Some people call it creator relations. What do you call what you do for clients?
I try not to get caught up in semantics. I refer to it as just good old influencer marketing. I think at the end of the day, you're paying for people with credibility to endorse the products and influence your target market. I think the pivot to using the word creator has come just because there's such a negative stigma around the word influencer.
Right.
And I think creatives like to be called creators instead of influencers too. So yeah.
I'm actually glad you brought it up because on the music side of the industry, the word creators gets used a lot too, artists and songwriters, and they are creators. But then sometimes you're talking to somebody and they're saying creators, they're talking about video creators. And then you're talking to somebody else, they're talking about producers and artists and songwriters and performers. And I'm like, why are we using the same word for different things?
Yeah. I'm going to say influencers is being an influencer is a very legitimate profession. And I think I'm going to keep using it just so we can break down that stigma.
Make it clear. Yeah. And so just to be clear, when we're saying influencer, typically we're talking about people who are making videos, building a following around kind of a body of work on an Instagram, a TikTok, a YouTube. Is that right?
Yeah, they're experts in whatever they kind of want to talk about. I think they can be experts on their own life. They can be experts on music. It kind of runs the gamut.
Yeah, cool. So why do music tech companies work with creators, and how does it work generally?
Yeah, well, the creator economy is estimated to be worth over $250 billion in market size, and it's supposed to grow to I think $500 billion in the next 5 years. Wow. So, with how big that market is, there's just something for everyone, and music is very much represented in that. I think it's I want to say it's pretty simple. It's kind of like PR. You find the right creators, you reach out to them, kind of pitch the product and your brand, figure out the deliverables, what they're going to make for you in this partnership, and then kind of work with them to dial in that creative and go from there.
Yeah. Let's get even more specific about that, because I think that process probably has a lot of nuance. A lot of people probably see it as this transactional thing. It's like, hey, will you do a video about a thing? Yes, no. Okay, go. And then there's probably a lot more that you're doing there. So do you ask creators to post a promotional video, or do you want them to just feature it? How do you go from wanting access to that audience of those creators to getting them to publish a video that has the kind of impact that you and your clients are looking for?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is you're kind of selling the product to them, right? I think creators have a lot of leverage right now, in terms, when it comes to brands. Like, paid advertising is getting more expensive. These creators, especially the music creators, like, they have, 10 synth companies reaching out to them like, hey, put my product on your page. And, they want to get paid for it first and foremost. But I think when it comes to the deliverables, I think it kind of depends on what the goal is. I think like more bottom of funnel. Well, no, let's reword that. I think it depends on how often you're working with a creator. The whole thing that I think people kind of get wrong about influencer marketing is like being too product forward. Like, you want it to be really authentic. And so I like to just have creators kind of fold in the product in their videos they're already making, even if that means that other products are featured on it. And then when you're working with them for the second or third video, then it's like, okay, this is that synth that I've been using, that you've been seeing me use. Here's why I like this particular one and why you keep seeing it. I think that's kind of the trick and the angle to really nailing influencer marketing.
So in a way, you're asking the video creators to warm up their audience by starting to, this is crazy.
100%.
This reminds me of what they tell you to do when you find a new toy for your dog or a new leash or a new, like, just put it around somewhere. Like, let the dog get used to it.
Well, consumers are smart. Consumers know when they're being marketed to, and they're honestly tired of it. Like, they have to filter all of that all day. And I think that's why working with creators is so refreshing, is like, the good creatives are good at making good creative, and they can fold that into something like their fans already care about them, and they already care about what they're doing. And that's why they, are so valuable, because brands want to tap into that audience.
So, but I guess if you're saying like, let's have them kind of warm up to this instrument, and just use it, like no, not too much criteria on those first handful of videos. Are you sort of like setting them up in a sense to say, hey, we don't just want to do a video. We want to have a relationship with you. And also in the way that you talk to your clients too, I assume it's like, hey, plan on sending, like, here, I picked out some creators for you that are going to love this, but you got to let them just have it. Hold on to the instrument, play with it. Don't even have any expectations about what happens at first. And once they get familiar with it, then we start to hone in on kind of like what some real product-centric videos might be.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's also a level of like knowing when to walk away. I think some brands get really hung up on like, no, we have to work with X person. Like, we have to get this person. Like, even if they said no to us, let's just get it to them. If they have it in their hands, they'll know. And I mean, let's give some credit to music creators. They're in the studio all the time. They know what they like, and they know what they're doing in the studio and if it's going to be helpful or not. And kind of forcing them to like something, people are going to see right through that. They might, it
could be worse, right? Like, they could record a video that's actually like tearing it apart too.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I think, a couple years ago, a lot of creators, especially on YouTube, came on their channels and where they were like, I'm not doing brand partnerships anymore. I'm not going to get paid to tell you that something is good when, I don't like it, and I'm not going to be bought. So some people have completely crossed off doing brand partnerships, especially in music tech.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So let's say you've warmed up your audience, and now you're like, the creator has demonstrated they're kind of like falling in love with the product, they're into it and so forth. What is that kind of like product centric video? What happens there? Do you create a brief for something like that, or is it a dialogue? Or does the client create a brief? I'm really curious about like that dynamic.
When I work with a client, I have a meeting to just kind of learn the product, and I'm like, okay, what are your unique selling points? I'm sure you kind of go through the same process when you're crafting a press release. Like, okay, what actually matters in all of your sales lingo? And then I kind of just have, 4 or 5 bullet points of why this product is different than anything else or why it solves a particular problem. And after those key points, I might have some, this is what's been done in the past. These are some videos that we really liked or what has done well. But other than that, I really try not to tell creators what to make. Creators, we're reaching out to you because we like your content, exactly how you make it. And I have found that the more box lines I put around a creator, the worse the creative gets, because then they're not making their content. Now they're just making whatever you say you want. And that's that's where the magic gets lost a little bit. So I try to keep all creative liberties with that content creator unless I get back a video and I'm like, this is the wrong angle. Like, you actually can't, unless the information is incorrect or, a wrong angle that might be taken poorly. Something like that.
Yeah. You don't want misinformation out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So we've talked quite a bit about the creator side of this, what the experience is there, what to kind of expect on that side. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to ask you a little bit about the client side. Like, does this actually work? Can you increase sales this way? We'll be right back.
Are you ready for the first Seismic Activity online event of 2025? Join us on Zoom January 29th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK time for How to Scale Up, How I Sold It. What do founders in music and media tech need to know about making a successful exit? Find out from experienced startup founders how to design your exit strategy, when to seek acquisition, and what to do next. We'll be joined by experts Paul Anthony Troiano and Jeff Ponchik. We're kicking off the year with a bang, and this is an event you won't want to miss. Head on over to musictectonics.com to register for the event and learn more about our free online monthly event series. Will I see you there?
Okay, we're back. And as I said right before the break, we kind of talked quite a bit about kind of like, what the interaction is with a creator, how creators might think about creating videos and so forth. But I wanted to ask you, does this actually work as a marketing channel? Do clients see sales from this?
I'm going to say yes, if you're willing to invest the time into testing and building this channel. I want to say it takes 3 to 6 months to really start seeing results. And, I think I notice you also say sales, which I think is another thing that brands get really hung up about, especially because, now I'm telling them to spend talent budgets for 6 months. And, I think sales are absolutely a KPI here. But influencer marketing is also very top of funnel, right? I mean, if you just think of the customer journey, okay, someone sees, I'm going to just use Sides as an example because she's a good friend. Someone sees a product on Sides' Instagram and they're like, oh, wow, this is cool. And the brand is probably tagged. And now they're naturally going to be like, oh, what is this? Who's this brand? They're going to go to your Instagram or whatever platform you're on. And then the customer is going to be like, does this brand resonate with who I am? And that's kind of where you might lose people, or they might go straight to an affiliate link. And if they don't see something right on the web, your website, that's also somewhere where you can get lost. Like, there's so many steps in between someone seeing an influencer post about it and then your purchase page, that I think there's other KPIs that we can measure that might take precedent over sales, especially at the beginning. So looking at the quality of your content that you're making with creators. Are you working with creators and is the engagement rate high? Are you getting the impressions you want? If you're working with a larger creator, those kinds of things are good indicators that, like, yes, things are working, even if you're not seeing sales.
Yeah. And for anyone who didn't catch that, Sides is a creator, Seids, Sabrina Seidman. Seidman? Is that his?
Seidman,
is that Yeah, Sidemen, big on Instagram, also on TikTok and YouTube, um, who does, she started with a lot of like Logic Pro content, right? And
Yeah.
now she does a lot of different things. She even trains other influencers on how to do deals with music tech companies, which is super cool, and other stuff like that. And she spoke at the Music Tectonics Creator Fair, I think thanks to you, Alexandra. You
We
helped
love her.
invite her. She was so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to hear her speak, great, but also follow her on Instagram
Yeah.
and see what she's up to, because she's great. So, like I think in the wider world of this creator economy, we've seen a lot of like makeup brands and apparel and, technology and things, gadgets, things like that. Is this really a viable approach for music tech and instrument companies? And then once you've answered that, I'm curious, is it better for gear and hardware versus, say, software and apps? What do you think about all that?
I think everyone is on the table as long as your product is good. You don't have anything to worry about. There are creators out there for everyone. There are people like Tatro, who's on YouTube and Instagram, and he's more focused on gear. And then there's people like Larry O, who's, he's big on Fruity Loops or FL Studio, and he does a lot more like software plugin type stuff. So yeah, I think music creators, I think reaching out to 100 music creators isn't what you want. You want to reach out to 100 MPC players if you're a MPC company or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So it is viable then. I take it that you're saying it is viable and it works
Yes.
both for hardware and software.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've talked a little bit about some of the mistakes that brands make, but let's kind of like crystallize that a bit. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see brands make when working with creators?
I have a laundry list.
Okay, let's go. We have time.
Okay, one we touched on, not giving creators creative room to breathe. I think that's a big one. Two, not valuing them enough, like not valuing. I think a lot of people can definitely get some sticker shock over what creators maybe quote them. And obviously there's always room for negotiation. And as a brand, you should feel empowered to negotiate a little bit. But keep in mind that at the end of the day, you're paying for their time to learn your product that they might not have bought anyway. So they're kind of doing you a solid. You're tapping into their like creative angles and all of their many tries of actually figuring out what content works for their community, building that community. You're like, if your product is, they're kind of putting they're vouching for you, right?
Yeah. Right.
And then, what it takes to just make a video. I think brands have a tendency to not value creators enough. Maybe this comes from my background in artist management. I think I'm very like protective of creatives, even if I'm working on the brand side. And so I've kind of really paid attention to that. Like, no, this is worth it. And I think a lot of it, again, is just investing into growing a community and building those relationships. Another thing is overlooking micro creators. I think especially when brands are just starting, they want to work with like Andrew Wong, like people with 1 million subscribers or 500,000 Instagram followers or something like that. And honestly, some of the biggest wins I've had with brands are from creators that have 4,000 followers, but they have a super engaged fan base. I think all sizes of creators have their own place in your influencer strategy, right? Like sometimes you want to, there is definitely value in working with a big whale of a creator, right? Like you're going to get eyes on your product. But then, your engagement rate is probably going to suffer because they have, 200,000 followers, but maybe like a 4% engagement rate. Whereas, you work with someone with 10,000 followers and they have like 20% of their following. They're like, people are rooting for them and are excited and engaged. And, I think the creators have a little bit more time at that stage to invest in their community. And then last is the biggest one I've been seeing. Brands are forgetting about their own organic social strategy. They're kind of expecting influencers to kind of save them and do the heavy lifting of being on social. And that is just that is just such a missed opportunity. And well, these are fighting words. It's kind of lazy. It's kind of lazy. I'm going to go there. It's lazy for you to just like focus on just influencers and be like, okay, Jesus, take the wheel. Like, that's just not what you need to do. Like, because again, like you have to think about your customer journey. Like it's just a flash in the pan if like they're only, you might get a person that follows sides to like your product. But then like the next step is like, how are you going to make a longer lasting relationship with the customer? Like you have to get them to follow your brand and invest in your brand. And how you do that is with organic social. So I think overlooking that, for getting your own organic social strategy and like, figure out how influencer marketing looks in terms of your social strategy, but really holding your own in that space is a big, big thing I've been harping on brands.
Nice. All right. I guess we should probably take another quick break. We've got another announcement. And when we come back, I want to get a little bit more into detail around the creator-client fit. We'll be right back. Are you headed to the NAMM show in Anaheim, California? Let's meet up at the biggest musical instrument convention. On Saturday, January 24th at 11:30 a.m. to 12:15 p.m., we're gathering all the musical instrument software and app innovators at NAMM. Come join us at the MIDI Association Showcase in Hall A. That's booth 10302 if you're looking at the NAMM app. Everyone gets the mic in this networking session. Give your 30-second introduction, connect faces to names around the room, then break to network one-on-one. Leave with connections to collaborators, customers, allies, and friends. Shaylee and I will be there making sure everyone gets a chance to connect. Come say hello at NAMM. Okay, we are back, and Alexandra broke down a lot of great, I shouldn't say great mistakes, one of the biggest mistakes that brands make when working with creators. I think super valuable to keep in mind. And actually, I want to ask you a little bit about, how you decide what creators to recommend, but I want to go back to something you were saying right before the break, when you were talking about organic social for, clients handling some of their own social media, not just to outsource it all out to creators. Is there a play? Well, I guess that means for one thing, they should just make original video content, right? And just post like tutorials, how-tos, cool examples of how instruments or apps or software or plugins are being used, et cetera. But is there a play for what sort of like the interaction with your like creator made videos as well? Like, do you, I don't know. Do you do duets? Do brands do duets with their creators?
I think brands that aren't afraid to comment and interact with comments on the creator collab posts is big. Obviously collab requests are very much on the table. And maybe we'll get into trends in a little bit, but I think we'll also start seeing brands employ a creator or two to make content, to make brand forward content and not just content on their pages. I think those are things on the table that you should.
Yeah, that's cool.
Pick up.
Not just see an instrument hop from native to creator page, but also have the creator hop from creator page to the brand page as well. That's pretty cool too. Yeah, makes sense. So you talked a little bit about this at the beginning, but what are some other factors in how you decide what creators are going to be a good fit for a client? Let's get into that a little more.
Yeah. A lot of it is just consuming content. I follow a lot of music creators and I'm always just paying attention. Keep in mind, I am not a producer. I played piano when I was a kid. COVID, I had a failed guitar hobby, but I really have just learned the bits and pieces. Like I know what MIDI is, but other than that, don't ask me a second question about MIDI. I'm just not going to know. But that said, I've been able to pick up okay, these people that are beat makers, don't tend to talk about presets, right? So just thinking about following creators and building relationships with them, commenting on their posts and just paying attention to what products they're using and what other brands they're partnering with is huge. Their engagement rate is a big one just because, that's a KPI that I'm looking for when I start my own influencer campaign. So their past engagement rates are a really good indicator of, if the content's gonna have a good chance of succeeding. If they've worked with similar brands before, that's I don't know, that's a little tip if you want to find influencers. Look at your competitors and see who they're reaching out to. And maybe you don't work with those people specifically, but that'll give you a good jumping off point of like finding similar accounts.
Those are great tips. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Now, obviously Rock, Paper, Scissors started in the PR realm and press, and, working with you helps us bring into the influencer side. We work with pay-per-click advertising, folks that helps clients set up newsletters, things like that. How does working with creators tie in with all these other marketing channels like press and ads and newsletters? Do you see an opportunity to sort of integrate what your work is with what some of our other kind of specialists work on?
Yeah. I think influencer marketing can tie into your other marketing channels as much as you want to take advantage of it. Something I always tell clients I work with is one way to get more bang for your buck is to buy ad rights to, your collabs that you're doing with creators, and then you can use them in ads because those always perform the best. Like having just a face of a producer being like, I use this, buy it, like that's a little bit more engaging than whatever brand ad you're going to run. And you'll see some more ROI from your talent fee. Promoting your creator posts on your email marketing newsletters, and there's plenty of apps that will embed your tagged photos onto your website. That's a big one. I think since everyone kind of does influencer marketing, I think it's a little bit harder to make it more press notable. But I think if you did a unique, like off the wall collab with a creator, that might make some noise that press is willing to write about. And it's always a good look, if you're launching a product, to be like, X, X, and X is already using this, and they kind of vouch for it. That's always nice to put in a press release. Yeah.
Also timing sometimes, just wanting press to hit at the same time that things are kind of quote blowing up on social
100% amplifying everything. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So let's widen out. What's coming down the road in 2025 for music tech and creator relationships, or for platforms? I don't know if we want to talk about TikTok or not, but but what do you see coming down the road that people should be keeping an eye on?
Let's address the elephant in the room. I think there might be a lot of TikTok heavy creators that we're going to see start investing more time into growing their Instagram channels. So there might be some new blood. I think especially maybe like the DJ TikTok creators. DJing is really big on TikTok and TikTok Live. I think we'll start seeing a little bit more of that. I think we'll start seeing, I mentioned this, brands kind of building creator teams, or finding that one creator to be a spokesperson for their organic channels. One thing that's all the rage in marketing right now is this thing called world building, like kind of crafting an entire world around a brand. And I think, with, the full Monty, like characters and like little symbols that kind of signify like, oh, this is what the world of teenage engineering looks like or whatever. And I think music,
they built a world.
Yeah, right. I think I don't think teenage engineering needs to do anything to build their world. they've got that.
But they had that medieval version of their instrument that had like videos with like people in white gowns on white horses going past, their medieval sounds, which is pretty funny. But
but I think music tech brands that really invest into world building and folding in creators as characters in that world and do it in a really unique, interesting way, I think they're going to win this year.
Interesting. Very good.
Yeah, those are the ones that I'm thinking about right now.
What about in terms of platforms? I mean, it sounds like Instagram and TikTok are pretty big in your world. Is YouTube still a thing for this world?
Sure. I think YouTube is the platform that will convert more sales. I think just because of when you think about the consideration phase, like people that are finding YouTube videos, like they're probably searching product reviews and unboxing videos. And once they might see something on Instagram and then do more research on YouTube to see if it's, something they want to buy. So that's one thing. I think TikTok TikTok I've always put a little lower on the totem pole, even when I was working in-house at Artifon. I think unless you're doing TikTok shop, or doing, whitelisting creator content on there, I never saw the return, just because it's kind of like fake community almost. Like, you really are only going on your For You page. People aren't like engaging in video after video of yours per se. So you might just get, that one video that popped off. So yeah, I think Instagram and YouTube are going to be the main focus for brands for sure.
Do you think more, especially with the potential of the TikTok ban or what's happening over with X/Twitter, do you think more new types of platforms, more niche platforms will emerge, or that creators will flock to any other platforms? Or
maybe. I think people are going to be a little hesitant. One thing
because they don't want to lose their audience.
Yeah. I think one thing, I'll say two things. One thing we haven't talked about is Twitch. I think Twitch has already been growing and growing and growing, and that's definitely an angle for DJ TikTok creators. They'll probably flock to Twitch. One thing I talk about a lot, and I think, man, I feel so bad for the TikTok only creators and small businesses that have only grown on TikTok, because you realize that these platforms own your data and own your customer relationships almost. And it takes literally one law. Granted, I know this law has been tossed around for 3 years and it's been the boy who cried wolf, but one law can literally take your entire relationship with your community away from you, and then you're left with almost nothing. And I hope this signals to brands to really focus on how to get their customers, almost off these platforms per se, obviously be on the platforms and grow those communities there, but figure out how to grow your email newsletter, or figure out how to get them into Discord, or figure out some kind of group that you are able to own that data and own that relationship. So no matter what platform goes under or what platform pops up, you have a tried and true way that's always going to be there. You're always going to have those emails, or have their, I don't know what else is out there. I talk about emails a lot just because it's, or texting even, have a SMS kind of community or in-person events that you can bring people to. That's going to be really big, I feel like, if you aren't thinking about that already.
Speaking of in-person events, we're going to be this week on Saturday at NAMM. We're doing an innovators meetup on Saturday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. It's in the Anaheim Convention Center at the MIDI Association's booth. That's booth 10302. And Alexandra and I will be hanging out at the Rock, Paper, Scissors booth, which is 10701, also at NAMM in Anaheim. And sending out our, biggest kind of wishes and concerns for everyone affected by the fires in LA. Anything we can do to help, let us know. And hope some of you are still able to make it out to NAMM and, join the community, meet up with influencers, come by Rock, Paper, Scissors booth, talk to me and Alexandra. Would love to continue this conversation. But Alexandra, this has been so great. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast and sharing all these helpful tips and background. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dmitri. I echo all of that. I'm so excited to meet everyone at NAMM. If you see me, come say hi and let's chat influencer marketing.
Let's do it. Thanks for listening to Music Tectonics. If you like what you hear, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We have new episodes for you every week. Did you know we do free monthly online events that you, our lovely podcast listeners, can join? Find out more at musictectonics.com. And while you're there, look for the latest about our annual conference and sign up for our newsletter to get updates. Everything we do explores the seismic shifts that shake up music and technology, the way the Earth's tectonic plates cause quakes and make mountains. Connect with Music Tectonics on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. That's my favorite platform. Connect with me, Dmitri Vitsa, if you can spell it. We'll be back again next week, if not sooner.
You're listening to Music Tectonics.